Hello, and welcome to today's immigration tidbit. So, this is Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner, and I'm here to try to help you understand more of how things are opening up and how visa processing is continuing. So, a lot of people with, for example, fiancé visas, non-immigrant work visas, sometimes even green cards, have been stalled at the consulate. Their appointments have been canceled. They haven't been rescheduled. In some cases, the time of eligibility to come in has already passed, and it's necessary to do things to get back into the system. So as COVID, at least now in the US, which thankfully we have President Biden who's doing something about it, is getting more and more people vaccinated, and the world is, at least in many places, is starting to open up a little bit to be able to come into the US. If you have been stalled and backlogged for months and even for a year because of COVID, and they're opening up now to allow you to come in, you can't expect that tomorrow you're going to get a call. Because of the COVID restrictions, they are still limiting staff at the U.S. consulates around the world. So even though they're starting to open up the appointments and starting to allow you to be able to come in, there's still a huge backlog now of people with appointments, but there's not an excess number of people at the consulates working. It's sort of a skeleton crew from what it used to be. So you can expect that it will still be a while before you are allowed to come into the United States to get your appointment and so forth. But at least the balls have started to roll again. Now, if you have something from immigration where you needed to get an interview, but it is already passed, like for example, let's say you had a fiancé visa that was approved, at least the petition was approved to USCIS, and let's say they normally gave an approval for 4 months. And obviously, if you have been waiting for more than 4 months for the appointment, that will no longer be valid. You can either send a motion to USCIS to try to get that revalidated for another 4 months, or you can see if the consulate will agree to extend based on the prior approval. It really depends on this point as to each individual consulate and what they decide to do. So given that the borders are opening, that the visas are starting to flow again, don't let the fact that perhaps you've been waiting to come in on an E2 or an F1, all these types of different visas, just because you know that the consulate is not accepting appointments or that the flow is really slow. If you get in now and start the process now, then hopefully you'll get in before the rush, because there's going to be a rush and things are going to clog up eventually when they start hiring more people and the number of applicants just starts to skyrocket. So you may as well take advantage of that. And just so you know, an F1, that is for a student. Okay, now they haven't really ever closed it, but depending what country you came from, it was temporarily halted, and then again it was difficult to get the appointments. So if you want to come into the United States, now's the time to start, especially because a lot of visas you will need prior USCIS approval. Even investment type visas. Let's say you're going to come on an L1. That's where you have a business in your home country and you're going to come here to the US in order to get a branch office or buy a subsidiary of the business. That needs prior USCIS approval, and so it takes time to prepare it. It takes time for them to adjudicate it. It takes time for them to send it to the U.S. consulate. It takes time to get the interview, and then it takes time to come in. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done before you actually step one foot inside the United States. Okay? So keep that in mind. Hopefully you liked it. Click like, subscribe, and more on the coming weeks. Okay, bye.